Wala pa rin nahahanap na paraan ng mga eksperto para
Pinsala ng
masabi.
bagyong Kiko sa Batanes at Cagayan
Pilipinas pagdating sa kalamidad.
Anim ang patay sa pagbayo ng
harapang bansa sa iba't ibang mga sakuna.
Assessment involves determining not only what has happened and what assistance might be needed, but also defines objectives and how relevant assistance can actually be provided to the victims. Some assessments are specifically conducted as damage assessment. They include the preparation of a specific, quantified statement of physical damage resulting from disaster. The damage assessment may also include recommendations concerning the repair, reconstruction, or replacement of structures and equipment, as well as the restoration of economic activities.
Assessment gives you the information you need to formulate and prepare an appropriate response. If your assessment reveals you're lacking a meaningful governance structure, for instance, you can design one before a crisis situation develops. When an emergency strikes, it will take at least 4 to 8 minutes for official responders to arrive after your 911 call. Depending on your location and facility, it can take much longer. In these first critical minutes, you are on your own. You are legally required to have an emergency plan and to train new people to your plan. Emergency preparedness assessment determines whether your emergency plan adequately addresses foreseeable emergencies and complies with federal, state, and local laws. There are 3 phases of assessment. These are initial assessment, rapid assessment, and in-depth assessment.
Forecasting and early warning. For many types of natural disasters, such as flash floods, storms, forest fires, volcanoes, and tsunamis, forecasting and early warning information and communication systems need to be in place. Assessments for these 3 systems collect and disseminate information on the potential development of the disaster and determine the extent to which affected populations are taking measures to protect lives and facilities from expected hazard impact. Capable organizations will also want to prepare for the implementation of post-disaster response and assessments. Let us now talk about forecasting. When we say forecasting, it is the process that enables us to create predictions based on historical and current data. This can be contrasted with what actually occurs. One of the importance is that you can plan the next steps for your firm using forecasting. It aids in your clear comprehension of the steps you must take to the advance. You can use it to create wise, short-term, and also long-term goals. Although most people are not aware of it, forecasting plays a major role in everyday life. From choosing what clothes we wear, to deciding what time to leave for work, we are making a forecast as to what the weather or traffic conditions might be. Moving on to the next, when we talk about early warning, it is a warning system that includes sensor, event detection, and decision subsystems for early hazard identification is known as an early warning system. It can be implemented as a network of information communication systems. It is also implemented for geological hazards like tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanic activity, and landslides. Hydrometeorological hazards, including severe weather inland and also at sea, floods, droughts, hurricanes, typhoons, and cyclones, tornadoes, cold and heat waves. One of the importance is that early warning systems are known to be a useful tool for lowering vulnerabilities and enhancing readiness for and responding to natural disasters.
Hi, I'm Carol Solamo and I will discuss about disaster early notification. So disaster early notification is also a set of capacities needed to generate and disseminate timely and meaningful warning information of the possible extreme events or disasters like floods, drought, fire, earthquake, and tsunamis that threatens people's lives. So for example, here in the Philippines, we have this NDRRMC. They are responsible for ensuring the protection and welfare of the people during disasters or emergencies. The NDRRMC plans and leads the guiding activities in the field of communication, warning signals, emergency transportation, evacuation, rescue, engineering, health, and rehabilitation, public education, and auxiliary services such as firefighting and the police in the country. Every time PAG-ASA or Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration issues an alert, the NDRRMC immediately crafts a message to send to all the country's telecommunications companies, who then forward it to their clients. It might take up to 10 minutes to write and send an alert message to the National Telecommunications Commission or TELCOS. Take note, do not ignore the text message sent as precaution and notification by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Even though it's more convenient to ignore the emergency warnings on your phone, think about what may happen if you aren't aware of and prepared for floods and other disasters. It's always better to be warned ahead of time than to wait until your house is completely submerged before you evacuate your family.
This assessment will provide additional general information about the disaster, the damage, urgent needs and priorities, and actual response measures be taken. Disaster needs assessment will need to be updated as more information becomes available and as the situation changes. Disaster needs assessment is necessary for surviving and being prepared in case a disaster strikes or strikes again. This evaluation assists them in understanding the extent and intensity of the harm, calamity, or crisis as brought about, as well as the capacity of the affected population to meet its immediate survival demands. Usually, within 36 to 72 hours after a disaster occurs, a team of sectoral specialists should conduct a rapid, yet detailed assessment of specific damages, resources, response, mechanisms, and precise needs within the different sectors. Water and sanitation, emergency health, food and nutrition, shelter and household needs, infrastructure, and communication. Their job will be to forecast sectoral needs for the next 3 to 7 days, 7 to 28 days, and 28 to 98 days. If it appears that the emergency will extend from weeks into months, then this specialist should help define specific interventions for the ensuing months. In the early stages of a disaster, assessments serve the objective of giving information that can direct the action of our emergency services in order to ensure that the evaluation that will be implied once the disaster strikes will be accurate. Disaster need assessment is necessary.
Before a disaster, it is crucial to determine if it will have a significant impact on the city or the surrounding area. When a disaster strikes, it is important to gauge its strength, lead the helpless, and rescue the survivors. Afterward, determine the disaster's casualty and whether it has completely subsided.
Monitoring is about keeping an eye out for disaster to strike an eye on it, so that their constituents can be notified immediately if this calamity is too damaging. But like an earthquake, it doesn't move immediately or the experts don't know it will happen. So often someone is injured when there is an earthquake in an area. I can say that right now that is where the experts are focusing to prevent and prepare for things that shouldn't happen and for everyone to have safety, especially since our country is located in the Pacific Ring of Fire.
The LGU is responsible for monitoring, reporting, and analyzing the disaster, as well as guiding citizens in the area appropriately and safely. LGU must have a strategy for how they would respond if a crisis occurs in the city. LGU must prepare the evacuation center and have adequate funds to provide any support required before, during, and after a disaster. It is preferable to be prepared than to be regretful. It is critical to report the situation during the crisis so that the country is informed of the present condition in the affected or afflicted region. Being prepared can help to decrease the dread, worry, and losses that come with a disaster. Communities, families, and individuals should be aware of what to do in the case of a fire and where to take shelter in the event of a severe storm. Youth-serving organizations can also help to not only increase youth's awareness of a specific hazards, but also increase the likelihood that they will openly discuss how to adequately protect their families and loved ones, and understand how to seek help should their community be affected. Youth can play a variety of roles in youth preparedness programs and play a critical role in recovery efforts. They may help communities identify their risks and protective variables, or they may take positions of leadership within programs.